Yeah, so I have worked in a few different roles since COVID started. I don't know what year we're going into, three. When I was with the state, we saw an increase in crisis related services. So psychiatric as well as with individuals with developmental disabilities. And a lot of that is because those social supports were pulled, people were out of school, there wasn't staff, there wasn't caregivers. And then a lot of folks who lived in like congregate care, their staff were sick or staff were having to stay. And then when I moved to my inpatient role, we had an increase in youth with developmental disabilities needing psychiatric services or being referred to psychiatric services or more restricted care. And again, I think a lot of that was related to kind of those supports that were previously in place, that lack of structure,
Mhm.
being disconnected from, you know, things that folks knew. They didn't have access to coping skills or activities that gave their life meaning and quality of life. Their caregivers were stressed out. And so definitely saw it there. But I think from a system wide perspective, from some of my colleagues, there has just been an overarching wave of folks with unmet psychiatric needs, particularly those with developmental disabilities. I mostly work with kind of marginalized communities, and kind of my area of expertise is folks with dual or co-occurring needs. So I'm often working with individuals with IDD who have these psychiatric needs as well. And I think for them, they oftentimes don't have the opportunity to kind of have some of the responses that we would expect. We would give grace to other people, and so their caregivers are referring them to these, inpatient, just for like really subtle things. And so I think that's a challenging question if we're talking about folks who have co-occurring needs, who have to be dependent upon other people.
Mhm.
um I think in general, folks who need, when it's appropriate time to seek, mental health services or supports. And I don't think that always has to be formalized. The first thing that I recommend is having like a sense of community. And so that could be getting with peers like you or getting with other caregivers who are going through the same thing. And oftentimes I find that folks don't know how to do that or they don't have access to it. I would say generally when your the stressors, right,
Mhm.
outweigh your ability to cope with them. But again, I think that's very subjective,
Right.
particularly in like Black and Brown communities. I think we've been conditioned to kind of put up with things, and so oftentimes it's too late before we realize that it's time to get help. And then there's an access issue. um and so I've recently been working with caregivers who, whoever they're supporting, I mean, 10, 12, adult, they're like, you're the first person who's listened to me. So that tells me that there's been an access issue, and there's been kind of cultural barriers, and there's been systemic barriers.